When the funds are low and the debts are high, and you want to smile but you have to sigh. When care is pressing you down a bit, rest if you must, but do not ever quit. Success is a failure turned inside out. Let's talk and clear the clouds of doubt.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Peace be with you. Welcome to another episode of Let's Talk. I'm your moderator, Omar Dunlap, and today we're discussing a very important topic, particularly for the youth of today. So if there are any parents or uncles or whoever is watching, if you have 16, 17, 18, 20-year-olds with you, make sure they stop doing whatever they're doing and come in and watch this show, inshallah, because it's very important to them. We're discussing replacing the haram with the halal, whether it's in terms of entertainment or anything. But without going too far into the topic, I'd like to welcome our guest, Dr. Mamdouh Mohammed. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam.
And of course, I'd like to welcome our studio audience. Assalamu alaikum. And I would like to turn the tables over to Dr. Mamdouh for his reflections.
And let me know that if the people are replacing the halal by the haram, or they're doing vice versa. If they are replacing the haram by the halal, this is amazing.
This is good.
This is what we're looking for. Yeah. Let me give you a brief picture about the halal and haram. Let's take it in a very simple form. A form of a contract that you make with someone. A very famous employer, very good reputation, and he gave you an offer. And in this offer, it's either you take it or you leave it. And the offer has all the conditions in it, all the do's and the don'ts. You read it, you either accept it or you leave it. So it's as simple as this. When anybody gets into this religion, right, he has the freedom before he gets in, before he steps in, to understand everything about it, about the Creator, about all these details. And at that time, he has the freedom of choice to choose whether to step in or to step out. Basically, this is if you step in and you accept to be a Muslim, you surrender yourself to this. Now, here are the conditions. Here are the do's that you need to do this, and here are the don'ts that you don't need to do that. In other words, here are the halal issues, and here are the haram issues. You combine this with your knowledge about Almighty Allah. He's the all-knowing, He's the all-powerful, He's the merciful, the most compassionate. So when He selected and He put these items, these conditions of the contract, He knew exactly that it is within your capacity that you can do it. See the mercy of Almighty Allah. This is understood under the verse that says, لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا وسعها. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not assign anyone to do something unless Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows that it is within His capacity. It is within the capacity of the human being to do that. Otherwise, it would be unfair. How can we do something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows that it is not within our capacity? If a human being understands this background, he would be very comfortable. I'm willing to do it as long as I am supposed to do it. Unfortunately, the people nowadays use it and reverse the meaning. You ask somebody to do something and he would tell you that لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا وسعها, meaning I cannot do it. It's not within my capacity. You cannot decide what is in your capacity. The one who decides is the one who created you. You are a creature. You are created by Almighty Allah. So He knows what you can do and what you... He knows that you have 60 or 50 to 70 trillion cells in your body. You don't know that. Perhaps some human beings know that nowadays, but not every human being. But Allah knows. So, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows with all these things that you have in your body, you can do that. So you should, as we say, that feel comfortable, rest assured that you can do it. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who created you. He knows that you can do it. If a person accepts this religion after understanding this background, it becomes very easy for him or for her to accept anything from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, okay, let's see the list of the halal and the list of the haram. The list of the halal usually almost encompasses the majority of the things in the world. And the list of haram includes very few things. Now, this is the concept that everybody knows. Look at the drinks, the water, all the types of juice, everything that is halal for you, right? Only the haram thing is the wine, the thing that intoxicates. And this is for your benefit. Of course, every one of them is for your benefit. So when you look at the haram items, there are just very few things. Otherwise, the default is halal. Even though it is the nature of a person who was not well trained when he was or when she was young to submit to Almighty Allah. This is, by the way, one of the benefits of learning the salah as early as possible. I'll give you one example that I have seen somebody when he heard the verse that says, وَإِنَّهَا لَكَبِيرَةٌ إِلَّا عَلَى الْخَاشِعِينَ. Indeed, it is considered as a very heavy thing, except for those who fear Almighty Allah, except for those who have khushu', the prayer. And somebody was talking to me and he said that I wonder, he's saying that I cannot imagine myself putting my head, the best thing in my body, to put it on the ground. I cannot do it. I wonder, how can you do it? I said that this is very easy. And at that time I understood the meaning of the verse, وَإِنَّهَا لَكَبِيرَةٌ إِلَّا عَلَى الْخَاشِعِينَ. That's why there is a wisdom when the Prophet ﷺ commanded us to train our kids to perform the prayer from the age 7 till the age of 10. This is a good period to train them, so they are well trained to submit, not by their bodies, but they are trained to submit everything. To submit, this is the time that Allah loves us to do it, so let's do it. And He wants us to do it this way, 2 ruku's, but 2 sujuds, but 1 ruku'. Why not vice versa? They submit because they know that Allah knows best. So if a person is well trained from the beginning to submit to Almighty Allah, these things, the perception of halal and haram becomes very easy. How to perceive them, how to internalize them, and how to apply them become very easy without lots of questions. Because if the people are not well trained to do this, they try all the time to negotiate. Oh, why this is not halal? I have heard from someone somewhere on this planet saying so and so. You ask him, did you know the proof that he gave you? Did he give you any proof, any evidence of his saying? No, but he said so. And why? Because the nature of a human being, especially the one who does not fully submit to Almighty Allah, wants to get more and more and more. And why not is this? If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decides this, and from the beginning Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as we know that أَحَلَّ لَكُمْ الطَّيِّبَاتِ وَحَرَّمَ عَلَيْكُمُ الْخَبَائِثِ. This is a golden rule. Whatever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made halal or lawful for us, it is the best. It is something good. And whatever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made haram or unlawful, that means that it is bad. It has something that would harm you. And if you examine all the haram things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala listed for the Muslims, as He listed them for the previous nations as well, by the way. But the people are not aware of that. All the things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made haram for the Muslims, He made them haram for the Christians, He made them haram for the Jews, but they started negotiating and they started changing their religions, and they made a lot of changes. To the degree, unfortunately, some sects on this planet would accuse Jesus, peace be upon him, that he drank wine without any evidence. Just someone made it up, and people started adopting it, and they started believing it. Why did this happen? Because it's very simple. Once you say this had been done by Jesus or by Muhammad or by someone, so it becomes easy for the people who believe in that person, right, to follow him. So changing the basics and the foundation of the religion would make it easy for the followers. And that's why this is one of the reasons, one of the billion reasons why we thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we have been Muslims. We are Muslims, right? And He kept this religion safe, sound, without any change. We thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for that. Now, an average Muslim can verify whether this issue is halal or haram. An average Muslim can hear a scholar speaking and can get some access to the main resources of Islam and would be very sure of what this scholar or that scholar said. Is it halal or haram? Because now we have all the sources available, the authentic sources, and in this way we can know what is halal and what is haram. It's not what Mr. X or Sheikh Y said. It's not what Sheikh Google says in the internet. It's when we verify these things and we have a solid proof that this is halal, then and only then we follow it, because we have the proof. But the moment we get a stronger proof, we start immediately changing because we found that this is stronger than this. This is the beauty of this religion. It's scientific in terms of research. You know that now people say that research says so and so, and they follow the research, right? After some time, a new research comes and disproves what was proven before. Immediately the people follow the new research. This has been exactly the pattern of the Muslims. Once you have the solid proof, you follow it. If the moment you feel that it's weak and there is a stronger proof, you follow it. But if you have two strong proofs, right? So you take the two of them. And at that time, you need the person who is specialized in this matter to tell you that this is stronger than this. That's why the people say now, the real faqih is not the one who differentiates, says that this is halal and this is haram. No, it's much deeper than this. No, the real scholar is the one who will tell you that this is more halal and more authentic and more reliable than this. And this is least, right, or weaker than the other one. So this degree of it needs scholars, and that's why this religion is based, although it is for an average Muslim to understand, but if you want to be an expert in it, you need to have knowledge. You need to access, I highlight this word, reliable scholars, not anyone.
Right. Very good. Well, we're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back, so don't go anywhere. You're watching Let's Talk.
Earth, the human heart, greed, exploitation, hatred, all diseases of the heart. For the cure, join Huda TV every Sunday at 20 GMT for Moments for the Heart.
Bismillah. Welcome back to today's episode of Let's Talk. I'm your moderator, Omar Dunlap, and today we're discussing replacing the haram with the halal. Before we go any further, we're going to look at some questions that we've asked some fellow Muslims. And the question we asked them is every form of entertainment that you engage in halal? And I think it'll be interesting to see their answers. So we're going to take a look.
No, sure. Yeah, there is a lot of entertainment around us, not halal, haram. But we as Muslims should select the halal entertainment and do it.
Is there enough halal entertainment out there?
Sure. Entertainment different between one and another. There is something you feel entertainment that I feel not entertainment for me, like reading, playing, or swimming. Entertainment different. So there is a lot of entertainment that is halal, like playing football, playing PlayStation, reading a book, listen to someone speeches, driving. There is a lot of entertainment halal.
Well, that was very interesting, but I think now we'll take it to the audience and see if they have any questions for... Yes, go ahead.
In the name of Allah, first of all, I would like to thank you very much for discussing this confusing topic, especially nowadays. Let me start with al-halalu bayyinun wal-haramu bayyin. I mean, what you can do is clear, and what you cannot do also is clear. But unfortunately, some people misunderstand the meaning of this tradition or the meaning of this proverb. Why? Because some people say, Rabbak Rabb Lub, or Allah is the Lord of hearts. And this is absolutely wrong. Because Allah gave us what we should do, and at the same time told us what we shouldn't do. The big question now, you know, ad-darurat tubihu al-mahdurat, or things, necessity, allows us to do things that are not allowed, or something prevented. To some extent, do you agree with this proverb? Thank you very much.
I think this is a very good, solid question, yeah. There, again, in our life, first of all, we have to understand that there are average people, laymen, and there are people who are more specialized, and there are people who are more and more and more specialized. You can apply it to any field of life. So in this way, that when we know that it's not everybody who is qualified to talk about this or to decide which thing that becomes darura at that time. There are average things that a human being can do. Let me give you an example that if you are in the desert and your car stopped, you spent few hours, nobody is coming close to you, there's no way for you to make contact with anyone. And so now there's something that's haram. Assume that you find a bottle of wine somewhere there, or whatever. Yeah, something that's unlawful Islamically, something that's haram Islamically. Now, what's going to happen? That you spend 2 more hours, it became 7 hours. You were patient enough, you spent the whole night. The following day you need to drink. There is a problem. Every time you feel that you lost your energy, you spend 24 hours, you're waiting for some help, nothing is happening. So what's going to happen now? This becomes a necessity Islamically for you, or necessity upon you, to drink some wine. When I say don't drink the whole, right? Drink a sip of it, something that keeps you alive. Why is this? When you ask scholars, they will tell you that preserving the human life is more important than the issue of the halal and haram here. And this shows and reflects to us how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is so merciful. Although in normal life, this is haram for any Muslim, but under this case, under this situation, it becomes lawful for you. This is a simple example that almost an average Muslim does it. Even you do it by yourself. Okay, there's something that would keep me alive. Even if you're not a scholar, you will do that. You'll find yourself, your natural instinct in you would invite you and motivate you to do this. Alhamdulillah. And this is again how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us and designed us to be naturally, you will do the same, the behavior. Which tells you in a different way that Islam is the natural way. Very simple. Naturally you will respond like this, you will do like this, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created you as a Muslim, which really is appealing to the human mind. Yes, this is a natural religion. But in times of normal life, why would you do that? Because you know that in haram, in this khamr, this wine, it's harmful. I don't think that you can find, no two doctors would reject this statement. Khamr is harmful. An average person you would find that would know that. When you read any newspaper and you see how many accidents happen everywhere because of drinking wine, you would understand why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made it unlawful, made it haram. I hope I answered your question.
I think maybe we should also clarify, like, as you said, you said this, but maybe I would like to just investigate it a little further.
Please do.
You said that if they're about to die and that they take just enough to preserve life.
Yes.
In other words, they don't drink the whole bottle. They get drunk and have fun, because, I'm about to die, let me just drink it off. This is not correct, right?
Of course, this is not correct.
And we can apply this to
anything. For example, in salat, you are in a desert, the same thing, in the desert, and there is no water. So you would make tayammum, right? Assume that while you're making tayammum, some people came carrying water and you are still in the salah. You are still in the salah. During the salah, you stop it, you go and perform wudu, because the water is there, and you come back to do the salah. Right? But if you continue the salah without having water, and then the water comes after that, no, you did it already. Okay? So this shows that this religion is a religion of mercy. The essence of it is mercy. And a lot of people pass this thing when every chapter in the Quran begins with Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala could have begun with Bismil Qawi al-Aziz, Bismil Aziz al-Hamid. He could have begun with any other attribute of Allah. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala selected these two qualities, and which is quite obvious that the difference between them is Bismillah ar-Rahman. Ar-Rahman is the most merciful for all human beings. So Allah has mercy for a Muslim, the same amount of mercy for a non-Muslim, the same amount of mercy for animals. For every creature, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala treats them with mercy in this life. But Ar-Rahim is the kind of mercy that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will allocate for Muslims, for believers, only on the Day of Judgment. Otherwise, it will be unfair. Because lots of people may die without being Muslims, and they have not heard about Islam. However, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala treats them with the same mercy that He treats the Muslim. This is in life. This is Ar-Rahman. And because it's a general mercy, that's why Allah began with it. And then comes the specific mercy in the word Ar-Rahim that will be given to the believers. It's an amazing religion. From every aspect of it, you feel, oh, this is the religion that I've been looking for. An average human being, when he hears this clear message, he would say, I have been looking for something like this. It just does, it makes sense to me. Yes, every aspect of it makes sense to me.
Do we have another question? Go ahead, brother.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In a hadith, our Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, told Sa'd ibn Mu'adh, may Allah be pleased with him, Ya Sa'd, أطب مطعمك تكن مستجاب الدعوة. Ya Sa'd, purify your food from the haram, and your da'wah will be answered. So my question is, getting the da'wah unanswered or not answered, is it a sign or a proof that there is something haram in the food or in the money of a person?
I think
Thank you.
The dua, getting the dua answered. And for our non-Arabic speaking Muslims, I think supplication, our prayers.
Yes,
so
we're
that's what he's
asking
asking
Allah.
about.
Yeah, this is a very good question, and you'll find lots of answers for that. However, the general answer, to the best of my knowledge, Wallahu Alam, I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to guide me to give the right answer, and if I do a mistake, and I ask Him to forgive me. What is known here, yes, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you're asking here, when Allah does not respond to your prayer, right? Does it mean that you have something wrong with your life, so you are doing something haram? No, the answer is no. It's not necessary that. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala may not answer your question or your request, your prayer now. Because Allah knows best that this may not be for your benefit if it is answered now. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then regarding the dua, the prayer, may be responded soon. It may be not responded until later. It will be responded after few years. And this also may be for your benefit. You insist upon Allah, so you come closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Or Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala may delay it to the day of judgment and will keep it for you to get the best of it. So it's not a proof that, However, doing the halal things, like investigating whether what we eat is halal and the source is halal, you have to be sure in every time, is this halal, is this halal? Is the money that comes to you from your salary or from any other source, is it halal 100% or not? You have to be sure that to verify this. As you know, that to the degree that one time Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, right, got a piece of one date and he ate it, and then he heard that from his servant that it was taken from the neighboring garden. So he was so afraid of that to the degree that he tried to vomit, as you know that. And he managed to do this because he's afraid that something haram that would go into our heart. I wish that everybody listens to me. I wish the taxi driver would listen to me. I wish that the policeman would listen to me. I wish that every teacher listens to me. I wish that every person in the government listens to me. I wish that every human being listens to me, especially Muslims. Don't be deceived by the amount of money you get. Some people think that this is a sign that Allah is pleased with you. No. سَنَسْتَدْرِجُهُمْ مِنْ حَيْثُ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ. We'll drag them. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is dragging people to see whether they are serious or not, whether they take this religion strongly or not, or just loose. Let me accept anything that comes. Just please, tonight, after you listen to this episode, ask yourself what happened to you during this week. Check the sources of money that came to you. The tips that came to you, was it a tip, was it a gift, or was it a bribe? Did you take the right of another human being when you accepted this or not? Please if you don't do it, how to do it. If you cannot do it by yourself, ask someone to help you with that. And then, and only then, you would see how much money you got. And you see, that's what's happening now. Lots of diseases among people. Lots of calamities. People are not pleased whenever you sit with a person. Even the richest people, they still have some complaints. This suffering that we have been going through because we just don't take the issue of halal and haram seriously.
Very good.
Thank you. Jazakallah khair for this question.
Well, we're gonna go to a break for now. We'll be right back, so don't go away. You're watching Let's Talk.
The true life of the Muslim starts at death. If you wish to enhance your knowledge of the Islamic perspective on the hereafter, this life doesn't go on forever, but we do so little to prepare for it because most of us don't know what happens after this life ends. If you want to be amongst those who know, then join us every Saturday at 1930 GMT for the inevitable journey.
Bismillah, Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back to today's episode of Let's Talk. Today we're discussing replacing the haram with the halal. And we have a new guest with us in the studio today, Brother Arwa Omar Abdullah. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you.
And you've been sitting off on the sidelines watching the show so far, so you know what we've been discussing. And I think that you're the perfect guest for this show because you, like me, used to be non-Muslim and you became Muslim. So you know about the transition from haram to halal. But before we get into that, maybe we should, just so our audience knows, because they're going to want to know, you can tell us a little bit about how did you become Muslim, how did you come into Islam?
This is, in the first place, it was not my choice, and I didn't understand that from the beginning, but it is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's choice, and I'm very happy for this. I used to forget to tell about this, but it's very obvious, and when I look at the recorder back in time, I can easily remember the occasion when I became a believer. And yes, and it was when I made the first prayer at all to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's 20 years ago. And then I lived a quite crazy life for many years, but I had the thought left in all my mind that I was a believer, and so I step by step came to become a Muslim in the end, and say Shahada 3.5 years ago. So and I also listened to the Adhan. I started to read the Quran, and all those steps are very natural now when I look upon it.
So what made you first think about Islam? I mean, did someone give you a Quran, or how did that happen?
The first Quran I had in my hand was the one I borrowed from the library, and it was soon after 9/11, what happened in New York. And I wanted to know the truth, in fact. So I borrowed the Quran because there was a lot of bad speaking about Muslims and such in all the matters. But I didn't believe it. And I really wanted to go to the source. So I went to the Quran and started to read, and I found a book of peace and love and understanding instead of what was painted on my walls, on my windows, over all the West. The other thing, a black book, a book of violence, a book of harm and bad thoughts.
Right, so then you read it for yourself and you saw that it was the truth.
I found it so deliberately those lies coming from the press when I was reading the Quran. So I only had to read more and more and more. And also Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala spoke to me through the Quran as I lived when I was thinking about it. Because it was not only this peace message, it was also a kind of message to my body, to my mind, to the world as it's shaped, the creation. That is flowers, birds, nature, human beings, everything was described.
And it's asking you, where did it come from? You know, it
yes.
had come from somewhere, right?
Yes, I suddenly started to understand that the things I had as a child, a very happy feeling about existence, and that I knew there were a creator, although I couldn't express it as a child. It came like understanding now through the Quran. Like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He is the author of everything. He's the only but unexplicable for us human beings. We can't say, put a word on who He is or what it is or anything like that, but He's the author.
One of the interesting things about you, because I've had the chance to talk with you before on other shows, is that you used to be involved as a musician, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So how was that transition from, what we would say is the haram to the halal lifestyle? How did that work for you?
Yes, you can say I'm a living example for the haram side. I did all what now is supposed to be haram. I mean, but I didn't look upon those things as haram at that time. But I got the light from the Quran and by being a Muslim to understand my wrongdoings, so to say. I can't look back in anger on those things, but I can look back on the things I did as a kind of map to guide me in my future life, inshallah. This is the most important thing for me, that I have experienced And I sometimes don't understand how foolish I was, but because I was neglecting my body by drinking alcohol or taking drugs or anything like that, although I didn't understand it at that point. But when I have now the intention and the knowledge from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the Quran to live a correct life, the halal things are very easy. There is really no problem.
Would you like to offer a comment on that?
Yeah, it's really amazing. That's exactly what we said right now. When we said that it's so simple, the logic in Islam, anybody listens to it. Nobody can resist the simplicity and the straightforwardness of this religion represented in the Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. But I'd like to make a slight comment here. I hate to say that I love the word foolish that you mentioned. I hate to say that. But on behalf of millions of Muslims, I feel ashamed of myself. I'm representing them. On behalf of the Muslims who were born as Muslims and who knew already the halal and haram, but they are not ashamed of themselves to practice the haram, to listen to music and to listen to these things. And some of them may drink wine. I feel ashamed on their behalf. This is the feeling of every true Muslim. You should feel ashamed of himself. You were not a Muslim, but you felt that you were doing something wrong. You were harming your body. You're giving wonderful tips for every human being. You discovered, alhamdulillah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guided you to do that. And I wish that every Muslim would listen to this. Is it possible that we can replace the haram things like music by the halal things like the Quran? Yes, we have a living example sitting in front of you.
Two.
He's talking.
Two living
examples. We have hundreds of living examples. And we see the truth. He said that I was living. I'm quite sure he was not just so addictive to music, but he just, it might have been your profession perhaps.
It was.
A musician. He earned his money, his living from music, and it was haram. And up to now, people take it slightly because it has been going on through their blood, so they think that once it is there, they cannot get rid of it. Now he's another example of solving it. He replaced it by the Quran. And I swear by Allah, if you don't trust me, try to test it yourself. Listen to the Quran and nothing else. Don't listen to music, don't listen to songs for a period of approximately a month. As much as you can, in the morning, in the evening, in your car. And after that, you will find your whole heart is with the Quran. Up to this moment, we will call you addictive to Quran. I am addictive to listening to the Quran. And I spell it out to everybody. Say, oh, this is Mamduh, the addictive one. Yes, I am Mamduh, the one who is addictive to Quran. Yes, I cannot resist listening to the Quran. And I think this is an average Muslim reaches this level because you enjoy listening to it, particularly when you love. I wish that you label me that, the addictive Mamduh to Quran. Yes, I'm addictive to Quran.
The Quran uses this sort of language as well.
But this is a wonderful addiction because it keeps you from all the bad addiction. So one addiction, you do it in your life, it keeps you far from all types of addiction. Alhamdulillah, he has tasted it. He has seen the beauty of it. You have done it. I have done it, alhamdulillah. I was born a Muslim, but I still enjoy it, alhamdulillah, every time I listen to the Quran. And every time I listen to a reciter, say, oh, this is the best. Then I listened to another one, I said, no, I changed my mind. This is the best. And then I changed my mind, so on. It's not because they have beautiful voices, by the way. It's because of the beauty of the Quran itself. Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. I want to ask you a question. Now that you're living more, what we'll say is more halal, have you found blessings in
more
that?
Or all halal?
Hopefully, inshallah.
All halal, inshallah.
Have you found some blessings or some goodness or some benefits in being halal, living halal?
I would say my life changed so radically to the better. So I have very few questions about if I'm. I have no examples for this because my life changed so much. And for example, what you say here about not listening to music, because I was addictive. I was a professional music. I was touring, playing punk music, the hardest, the most violent, but with a good message. I will say with a good message in the lyrics, because we were fighting for the right of people. But it's true what you say, because I felt when I was going to, so to say, change and take the other side, will I miss this now? And so on. But I said to myself, I'm a young Muslim, so I have to quit it for at least physically a period of time. Let's say 3 months.
Yeah.
And after this, I felt no need anymore. But what I felt need for, this is what you say also, the Quran, because I started to listen to the Quran and also the reciters. Of course, I have a musical ear, so I find this their voice is beautiful. But it's also the message in the Quran and the text.
This is the alternative that we were talking about.
This is what I was going to mention, see? Yeah. And not only Quran, there is halal nasheed with just voices and things. So we could mention what are some alternatives to music, which we've mentioned some. Right. We could mention what are some alternatives to alcohol, to going to the, in the West they like to go to the clubs and the bars. And we could do something else, So do we have these alternatives?
Why would we go to a club? We would come to here to Al Huda studio and, participate here and share what we have and benefit. We can do lots of beneficial things. We can do charitable work. We can do volunteer work. Look at some streets here and there in the world. They need a lot of volunteer work to keep them clean, to make this world a better world for us to live in. Yeah, so there are plenty and thousands of things. And please don't forget that you can contact us for further information. But hundreds of alternatives. But even before we do this, we would ask ourselves, do we have some time for these things? In reality, I think we have very limited time in our life, whether it's 70 years or 80 years or 60 years. But the Prophet ﷺ, he said that the average lifespan of a Muslim is between 60 and 70. So it's already known. It's about 65. Yeah. So it's not long. When I ask myself or ask other people, did you memorize the Quran? Well, the answer for the majority is no. What are we waiting for? Remember that this is the only book that Allah will ask us about. It's a book that would make a difference in our grades in paradise. It's a book that will help us when we are investigated on the Day of Judgment, when we are held accountable for our deeds. It will help us to speak the truth. Did we spend some time on it? Even if we memorize it, did we understand it? Okay, if we did, do we teach it to others? We don't have time for other things. A lot of people are not aware of this. I think the Quran can really dominate all our life if we give it its due right. We need to memorize it. We need to understand it and learn the tafsir of it. We need to teach it to others. When we remember the Prophet ﷺ saying that خَيْرُكُمْ مَنْ تَعَلَّمَ الْقُرْآنَ وَعَلَّمَ. The best amongst you Muslims is the one who learns the Quran, understands it, and teaches it to others. Where are we from this statement? Where are we from this statement? I'm quite sure that each one of us can answer this question.
Let me ask you this. There may be somebody watching and he says, well, okay, I want to give a lot of time to reading Quran and all of this stuff, as you said, but also the human being needs to have some fun.
Well, very good.
We need some leisure activity. So what can you suggest that would be halal?
This is a natural question. The companions, as we know, that they used to have fun even in the mosque, to throw each other with the peel or the cover of a sweet or some oranges and something like that. So they used to have fun. You know that the Prophet ﷺ used to have competition in running with Sayyida Aisha. There is a lot of room for us to do fun. But this fun should not outweigh the serious issues that we should do. We should have the balance. And the balance all the time, I explain and I focus on this. The balance does not mean 50-50 at all. A lot of people think that the balance is an hour and an hour. When the Prophet ﷺ in his hadith, he said, sa'a wa sa'a, it doesn't mean an hour, 60 minutes and 60 minutes. No, it doesn't mean that at all. When we talk about this, it means that what is needed for this, right, to give it its due right, to be fair to it, to give it what it needs. For example, to be fair with your children, it doesn't mean that you give this one $50 and you give this one $50. No. One of them is a university student, so $50 may not be a correct number for him. Another one is in elementary school. The 50 would be too much for him. So the 50-50 does not mean that this is equality or fairness. I think that a lot of people fall into this misconception. It's not 50-50 at all. The first son, first child who is a university student may need $200 per month. The other one may need only $20. This is the fairness.
Very good.
To be fair.
Let me stop you right there.
Please
We're going to go to a break right now, so we'll be right back and we'll finish that point in a minute, inshallah. So don't go anywhere. You're watching Let's Talk.
So this is an open invitation for everybody to recognize God and enjoy His blessings in this life and His mercy in this life and in the hereafter as well. Allah, Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim. Each name has a meaning. Each name signifies a nature of Allah the Almighty which no one shares or is compared to Allah in it.
Bismillah, welcome back to Let's Talk. Today we're discussing replacing the haram with the halal. It's been a very interesting episode so far, but for now we're going to go to the audience and see if they have any questions for our guests. Go ahead, brother.
This question is to Sheikh Mamdouh. Sheikh Mamdouh, replacing haram with halal now becomes a very difficult matter because the gap between haram and halal become narrow. And when we hear to the fatwas of the sheikhs, we find many corrupted fatwas. How we become assured of the fatwas? Is it true or is it false? Yeah. Thanks.
Again, this is a very good question, especially nowadays. First of all, we want to establish some guidelines that will help people. First of all, thank you for calling me Sheikh. I'm not Sheikh, by the way, so don't take fatwas from me. But at least I know from my religion some guidelines that I think every Muslim, if he or she knows them, they will be, inshallah, on the safe side. When we talk about fatwas, anybody who would give a fatwa, we need to get the proof from him or her. When somebody tells you, okay, this is halal, you need to ask why it is halal. What is the proof? If he said that this is the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, can you tell us what is the source of the hadith? In a very polite way, because our aim is to get the proof. It may be true. It's not everything that you hear the fatwa from the people that are haram. We have to verify these issues. And then when you find that the proof that this X scholar, right, is weaker than the proof of the Y scholar, so don't follow the X one. Regardless of his big name or his big status or job in the world. Even if he's on the top. We don't care about that. What we care is what he says and the proofs and the evidence that he says. This is a very simple logic. Right? And now I think we can benefit a lot. Most of the authentic books, they are on the internet. Just 5-minute research on the internet, we can get the answer very quickly. Yeah. I hope I answered the question, and I ask if the brother Urwa wants to comment, or let's move to another question. It's totally...
I think a new question would be good.
Very good. Let's take it to the audience. Go ahead.
If I doubt something and don't know whether it's halal or haram, and I asked someone, and he said to me, it's okay. After that, I discovered that it was haram. Am I to blame for not assuring? Thank you.
Jazakallah khair. Also, this is a very good question. Yeah. First, all of us confront situations that we're not sure whether this is halal or haram. Let's talk about this first. And the answer of it would show you how Islam, is really part of the human nature. In America and in other countries, they say that when in doubt, leave it out. If you're not sure, just put it aside. This has nothing to do with Islam now. They say it in many places, right? And every human being there almost uses it. And this is an Islamic concept. When in doubt, leave it out. Right? So if there is a very golden rule in Islam, it's called certainty and uncertainty. Certainty over all the time overrides uncertainty. You will never take uncertainty to override certainty. Is this clear?
I think it's
so
clear, yeah.
It's very clear. So now, if you are in doubt, that means if you are uncertain, don't do it. I want to establish this in the brains of every viewer. When in doubt, leave it out. Put it aside. Don't do it. So don't do it and say that I will ask about it later. No. Just don't do it until you verify it. Suppose that you don't know and you asked somebody and he gave you the answer, and then you discovered after some time that you did not have a solid proof for that. Am I to be blamed? Yes, it depends on the one who asked. I see a very educated man in front of me. When you are educated, you have more responsibilities. Why? Because you can access knowledge. You can get the phone number or the contact of any scholar and you can contact him. You can write your question on the internet to specific, very well trusted websites and you can get the answer in perhaps an hour or so. So yes, you are to be blamed. You have to verify. Don't accept anything just when you ask. And at the same time, I advise people who are asked questions, don't hasten it. Don't do it quickly. Don't give the answer without being sure 100% of the answer.
Very good. Well, we have just maybe 30 seconds, Brother Urwa, if you would like to just close the show by giving some advice to our viewers about halal and haram.
It's very easy. Do the halal and forget about the haram. And if you do, unfortunately, by no intention, but by accident, haram, don't blame yourself very much for this. Look forward instead when you understood you made something wrong. And try to find the sources for the right answer. And you find the sources is the Quran and the Sunnah from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It might take some time. You might ask the wrong persons, people, but after a while you can be sure that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will forgive you. And this, I think, is the most important message today, because He is the Rahman Rahim, and He will forgive you if you have a good heart.
Very well. All right, well, that's all the time we have for today. We hope to see you next time, inshallah ta'ala. Until then, I'm Omar Dunlap, wishing you peace. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
When things go wrong, as they sometimes will, when the road you're trudging seems all uphill, when things go wrong, as they sometimes will, when the road you're trudging seems all uphill, when the funds are low and the debts are high, and you want to smile but you have to sigh, when care is pressing you down a bit, rest if you must, but do not ever quit. Success is a failure turned inside out. Let's talk and clear the clouds of doubt. Success is a failure turned inside out. Let's talk and clear the clouds